In this tutorial, we'll be making a scene manager for the game. We already know how to change scenes, but in a bigger, more complicated game with more scene changes, it would be best to have a way to do this so that later on when you get into animations, you might want to do a fade out, fade in, and you don't want to have to do that in every time that you change scenes. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll take our last tutorial as a base T10 menu because we already have a bunch of scene changes in there, and we're going to convert it so that it changes the scenes using the scene manager instead. So we'll copy and paste that folder and rename it as T11 Scene Manager, and we'll open that up. The first thing that we'll do is add a new scene, and that can be of type node, just a regular plain old node. We're going to rename it as Global Manager, or you could do Scene Manager if you want, whatever you want. Let's give that a script. Default is fine. Get rid of all of that. We don't need it. Okay, so now that we have that, let's just do a quick save, globalmanager.tscn, and let's now go into the project settings. And this time we're going to go to globals, the fourth tab over at the top, and we're going to actually add that path. Click that folder to open our file manager. Global Manager Scene is here. We'll use that. Actually, no, I want to not use the scene, but the script only. So globalmanager.gd, and we'll use that. It gave us this automatically, Global Manager. That's fine. Just note that it's a capital letter here. And so when we're using this in our code, make sure we have the capital letter. And we'll click add, and there it is. So what are we doing here is that we are making this script, globalmanager.gd, available to every scene in the game. So right now, say, I don't know, our player scene has a health variable or something. No other nodes or no other scenes can actually see that health variable because it's part of the player only. But with this global manager, because we've put it in here as a global, every scene in the game can now see that. Okay, so let's go back to our global manager.gd, and we're going to write the function for the scene change. So first we'll give it a var current scene, and that's going to be of type node. All right, now we can write the switch scene function. That function is going to have an argument called scene name, which is going to be of type string. We're going to make a new scene and load scene name, which came from that argument that is of type string. And we're going to instantiate it. Then we need to delete the old scene, which is the current scene, I guess. And so we'll queue free it if it does exist. All right, now that that's done, we need to add the new scene that we just instantiated. We need to add that to our scene tree. And finally, we need to make our current scene, the one that we just instantiated and added to the scene tree. And so there we go. Oh, we forgot a colon in the function name. Okay, so just to review, we get our scene name here. We load and instantiate that scene and assign it to our variable called new scene. We delete the current scene, and we add to our scene tree this new scene, and then we make our current scene the new scene. The scene tree, by the way, so in every game we have a scene tree where we have like a root node, and then different scenes get loaded in So usually it's like whatever scene that we started. Before it used to be like the level scene. Right now, we're going to have the global manager node as the parent node for every single scene in the running game. Later on, we'll also be able to use variables that can continue throughout the scenes. Right now, we can't do that. Anyways, that should be good there. So now that we have made this function, we can use this function whenever we need to change scenes. So we need to find all the places where we do change scenes. So I go to level.gd. There's a scene change right here. Let's just comment that out in case we need it again. But actually, we don't want that. We want global manager dot, and then it was called switch scene. Is that right? Let me just save this. I should have popped up. Oh yeah, it did pop up. It's just because I didn't save it. Switch scene, and let's see. This is the portal from level 1 to level 2. So I want to switch to level 2. So I get the level 2 scene here. And then I think the other ones are in the menu. And so let's comment this one out. And we'll go global manager dot switch scene. Yes. And this is button 1. I should have renamed my button so that it's easier to see what they're doing. That's fine. We're going to level 1 in this one. And button 2 is the exact same thing, except we are going to level 2. Comment out the current scene change. All right, all the scene changes in the game have been renamed or refactored with this global manager. Global manager, of course, because where did this name come from? It came from our project settings that we did right here. Name global manager refers to global manager.gd. So make sure that that matches. Remember the capital G that I pointed out earlier. Anyways, so that points to the global manager.gd, which does have the switch scene function. And so that's what we're calling switch scene. And then we're just giving it the scene that we're switching to. All right, save everything and let's run it. All right, so I clicked on level 1 and here we are in the level 1. So that scene change did work, but we have a small problem. You see the menu stuff is still here. And so that actually, it keeps on resetting the game back to this beginning of level 1. And so this is a problem. And so what can we do about that and why is that happening? So what's happening is that the global manager this stuff doesn't kick in until the first scene change happens. And so this queue free doesn't happen until after the first scene change, which means that the first scene that is loaded, which is menu, never gets queue freed. And so that's why it's always there. We can work around this by making kind of like a dummy scene at the very beginning, and then the menu won't be the first thing. The dummy thing will be the first thing. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create a new scene. We can make it a 2D scene, I guess. Doesn't matter too much. And we'll call it dummy. And we'll give it a script. Okay, and in the ready of that script, let's do that function. So what do we want to switch it to? We want to switch it to actually the menu scene. And so let's grab the menu scene here. So what's going to happen is when the game first loads, we're going to see this dummy screen, which is actually invisible, and which actually, as soon as it's loaded, we're going to do this, which is switching to the menu scene. So because there's no sprite or anything, this thing is invisible and doesn't do anything and is instantly switches to the menu anyways. So for the player, we won't know whether we loaded this dummy scene or whether we loaded the menu scene. It looks exactly the same. Okay, so the other thing that we need to do before this works is to actually change the settings of the game. So project settings, and we need to go back to general, and we need to go to run, and the main scene is going to be this dummy because I want that to be the first thing that loads, and it doesn't show up because I didn't save it. So let's just go ahead and save this dummy thing, and then we go back to project settings, and it should show up here. Dummy. All right, so let's run that again. And here's the menu. And so now we don't have the menu showing up all the time, which is good. This isn't working. My portal isn't working for some reason. And when I look in the debugger, it has some kind of error. Let's just take a look. Okay, signal calling from body enter to whatever method expected 0 arguments but called with 1. And so if I go to, what is that? That's the level. And so if we see this function, there should be something in these brackets. For some reason, at some point it got deleted for some reason. Yeah, so that should be a body node 2D, I believe. This door, by the way, just to point out, this portal or door or whatever you want to call it, I just made it in the level, but if you wanted to use it like the same door in multiple scenes, you would make this its own separate scene so that you can use the chain to just add it to whatever scene you want. I didn't do that. I don't know why I didn't do that. Maybe I was too lazy. But especially if you want to reuse it, that would be the thing to do. Okay, let's see if that fixed it. Touch the portal, it goes to level 2, excellent. And let's just see if the menu goes to level 2, and it goes to level 2, excellent. We're done. So that is it for this tutorial. Absolutely nothing changed in the way the game works, but we have changed the way that we've done it. And then in the next tutorial, we'll see some other things, kind of continuing from this change and how that will work. That's all for this one. See you in next time.